Howdy, howdy, Red Faction. Back again. So, um, Dev Insights for Season 23 Weapon Tuning. As we know, Season 23 is not that far off. I think we are probably a month and a half away from Season 23. And there's a lot to talk about with Season 23. So, while I load up my Destiny 2 character, we have just about a month. We have a month left for Destiny 2, Season of the Witch. So, with that being said, Dev Insights Season 23 Weapon Tuning Preview. Hi, all. It's the Weapons team with a look at the Season 23 weapon changes. While we do have a few PvP changes in here for you to see, we wanted to share a deeper look at the PvE changes specifically. When we look at balancing PvE, we look at several things and ask ourselves some questions. This is not an exhaustive list, just some common ones. The intended role for the weapon, the ammo type that the weapon uses, how safe is it to use, how easy it to use, and how is its DPS compared to other options. When we take all the answers to the above questions, we holistically see if a weapon is potentially over or underperforming in the sandbox within these bounds. These questions, of course, assume that we have a solid baseline to compare. So, one of the very first things we need to look at in the above answer, in the which weapons answer the above questions in a satisfactory manner. Let's talk about auto rifles. They are meant for ad clear. Major killers burst DPS, extended DPS. They are primary ammo for now. Winky face. They are moderately safe to use as they close to mid-range options to allow you to be relatively further away from combatants, although for the most part they're not safe as scouts, hand cannons, or pulse rifles. They're generally safer than sidearms, submachine, or SMGs. They are relatively easy to use with less punishment for missing individual shots and a lower resilience on critical hits than a pulse, scout, bow, or hand cannon. While being more reliant or while being a bit more reliant than SMGs. They currently deal about 25% less damage to minor commands than SMGs. Since they are safer to use than SMGs, given their extra range, it makes more sense that they deal less damage. However, they are more reliant on headshots. Probably seems a bit high in the sandbox. Given these values, we have made an educated decision on how to balance auto rifles. This, of course, is only the first step in balance process. After we make the change, we play test it by extensively with A and B comparisons. So the A being where they're at right now, and B their change. To get a better idea of how it feels in game and to make sure we have not missed a mark with our change. Sometimes we realize after playtesting that a change is not enough, and we will take a second pass in a future release to move the weapon closer to the ideal target. This process, in part, helped lead our team to the decision in Season 23 to increase their damage values versus minor commands by 10%. This should narrow the gap in effectiveness between SMGs and auto rifles, without overstepping their bounds and invalidating another class of weapon. We hope this provides insight on how we look at balancing weapons in PvE, and it will help you look at better understand how many changes that we will be discussing below. So, general, we discovered our Keppel weapons are mistimed ammunition loading animations. So the Drain and Zala's Bane to reload ammo at the correct point of animation. Auto rifles. Auto rifle DPS is generally in a pretty good place, but they're lagging slightly behind. So, to increase this against miners, red bars, their damage will be increased by 10%. Pulse rifle DPS in PvE is comparable to scout rifle damage, but in the new sandbox, they are more closely aligned with hand cannons and auto rifles in terms of range. As such, we have increased their damage against minor and majors to move them closer to other mid-range options, and we will continue to monitor them to see how their effectiveness changes. So, against minors and majors, red bars and orange bars will be increased by 12.5%. Glaives, we're just going to skip all this. Sniper rifles. We are continuing our trend on moving sniper rifles up by a small amount at a time to make sure we do not upset the encounter balance in PvE. Increase the sniper rifle's flat buff for PvE damage to 15. This also applies to snipers in the exotic category that use heavy ammo. Vex Missile Class. The damage for Vex Missile Class has been increased against red bars to 10%, bosses to 25%, and champions up to 200% when in the linear fusion rifle mode. Revision 0. Against anti-barrier champions, their damage will be up to 100%. Thorn. In Season 23, Thorn is gaining a catalyst to strengthen its PvP and change its base behavior to make it more fun to use in PvE. So, here's what's going to happen with Thorn. A Remnant. When you get a kill with Thorn, it will drop a Remnant. Remnant, now, not only will it give you a little bit of ammo, it will overflow the magazine. Up to 40 rounds. That's the base catalyst. With the catalyst, you now get increased to range by 20%, or by 20 points, 10 stacks of stability, and getting kills or picking up a remnant will give you additional range, handling, and stability. More glaive talk, we skip. Ulster Striga. Ulster Striga has been, quite frankly, far too powerful for ease to use it provides when it becomes an ad clear in PvE. It has more range than other SMGs, does not require kills, and does not rely heavily on precision aim to activate its strongest AoE that we have ever had in Destiny. In addition, the lingering poison damage that has benefited from the damage scaler that the SMG gets in PvE content, which is intended to buff SMG's direct impact range. This scaler, which is on its highest scalars of any weapon in the game, is pushing poison damage to such a high extreme that it's been difficult for any other weapon to compete in the ad clear role. While it's likely that this change will not move the needle on Ulster Striga to a substantial amount, it'll be least to be slightly less an outlier compared to other ad clear weapons. To preempt this argument, buffing other weapons to the same level would be a power creep to an extreme degree and very unhealthy to the game as a whole. So this is not something we want to explore. So, they have removed the SMG damage bonus scaler that was affecting poison damage. This brings Ulster Striga's poison down to the match standard necrotic grip poison, such as an exotic. It will deal a 40% damage bonus against minors. Don't care about Salvation's grip. Winter Bite can go fuck itself. I don't care about any of these perks except for Kinetic Tremors. Kinetic Tremors, we wanted to make the activation requirements more consistent across archetypes, so we changed the number of hits needed to trigger on some weapons. So on pulse rifles, the common reduced from 12 to 11, enhanced 9 to 10. So basically, between the enhanced kinetic tremors and the non-enhanced kinetic tremors, there's only difference of 1 for its activation. And on non-burst sidearms, from 12 down to 8 for its activation, and on the enhanced, 9 to 7. In the future, they're going to be looking at bow tuning PvP, additional weapon tuning in Checkmate, and Necrochasm gaining the buff to extend the duration of poison damage over time that it applies from the Cursed Thrall explosion. It will also have a new catalyst called One for Thrall, which grants a moderate increase in damage, range, and aim assist after damaging 3 targets in quick succession. Damaging more than 3 enemies while this perk actives refreshes the timer. They're going to be buffing the Truth, the Colony, and Deadman's Tale, as well as other exotic weapons. And exotic or heavy grenade launchers will have a substantial inventory buff. We all know how I feel about the Truth. Get out of here. Colony, meh. DMT, great. I don't know. With that being said, though, Red Faction, I will get this video to you guys out shortly. Peace. Have a good one. See you soon.